Hey you guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Shanice. Here on this channel, you already know, we live a faith-inspired lifestyle. Yeah, so I'm so excited to talk to you today about whether or not children should fast. As we know, fasting is abstaining from a modern diet in exchange for a closer or deeper relationship with the Lord. So many times we see that adults are fasting, young adults are fasting, but not so often do we really see that children are fasting or parents are having to make a separate meal for the children. Obviously, if they're a baby, friend, I don't think they should be fasting from any food. They're only on milk, really, and cereal, which, hey, you can make your own cereal as well, but babies definitely should not be fasting. But should children fast? And I want to talk today about Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, you can read it on your own. It talks about how there was a king that decided to go into Jerusalem. This king was from Babylon. He decided to go into Jerusalem. The Lord allowed that king to take hold of Jerusalem, its people, and bring them back to Babylon. While there, the king of Babylon decided, you know what? I want all the young men, all the children that are male to come into the kingdom, and I want to train them up. I want them to learn everything about us, how we talk, our speech, our culture, our traditions. I want them to learn all those different things. And so the prince of the eunuchs decided to go out, grab all those different males, and our four characters that we're going to talk about today, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were from Judea, from Jerusalem, and they were taken, and they were also a part of the boys that were in the kingdom. So Daniel decided that, yes, I know that the king is giving us provision for the next 3 years. We're to eat the king's meat, we're to drink wine, but I don't want to defile my body. Me and my homeboys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we don't really want to defile our bodies. We want to continue to honor God as we've been raised and trained up to do and to be. And so in Daniel chapter 1, verses 12, Daniel decided that he was going to asked the prince of the eunuch, because he found favor with him. He was going to ask him if it was possible for him and his friends to have a diet that was based around pulse. So pulse is wheat, legumes, beans, anything that had a seed that grew, and vegetables and water, that was going to be their modern diet for that season. And the prince of eunuch was concerned. He's like, yo, I don't know if I want any part to do with this, because the other boys are going to be eating the king's meat and his provisions, and you're asking for 10 days. Can you eat something different? What if you come out to be weaker, or your countenance and your appearance that you don't match up? Like, the king is going to have my head. I don't know about that. But Daniel still petitioned him. Daniel asked if he and his friends can fast for 10 days, and it was granted unto them that they would prepare that for them, the pulse. And so you wonder, if Daniel and his friends were taken in as children, how did they know to request to honor God with their lives and their bodies, and to make sure that in a place where everybody else is doing something else, that they were going to stand their ground? And number one, they must have been trained up by their parents. They were taught, they were led. In Proverbs 22, verse 6, it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So there's no way Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, their parents, had this vision of, my child is going to be taken away in captivity to Babylon. No, I am pretty sure they did not have a clue. But what I see that they did, and that's something I'm going to take into my life, and I hope you take too, they trained their child up. Imagine if they would have allowed them to go out into the world. They didn't know they were going to be taken, but they trained them up while they were in their care to honor God, to understand that what fasting was, that it wasn't just that, oh, I'm giving up this yummy food, but no, I'm choosing to honor God with my life and hear and be strengthened by the Holy Spirit. So I'm sure their parents they grew up fasting, but they included them in the fast. And that's one thing when it comes to fasting. When you're preparing those meals, when you're cooking, make food that are great, that's awesome, and include the child into that, because that's going to allow them to have firsthand experience on how exactly they should go about doing a fast. One thing I think about is wealth. Sometimes in some of our families, we've had wealth for generations and generations, right? But yet when it comes to our children, and after we may have passed on, that money that had been in our family for generations now is gone. But why? Because we never taught our children exactly how to manage. So how are you ensuring that your child knows how to manage their spiritual life, their relationship with the Lord, if you're not being intentional on teaching them and leading them on what they should do? In order to sustain wealth, the wealth of the Spirit, the wealth of the anointing, the wealth of their relationship with God, and wealth and inheritance, you have to take the time out to invest. So I pray that you're invested in your children so that even when you're gone, they know how to sustain what has been planted into them. Number 2, identity. Do you know that when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel actually went into the kingdom, the king's palace, they had a moment, and this went on. This is how they were addressed. They no longer were called by their original or birth names. They were switched into names to represent the culture that they were now in. So Daniel, he was called Belteshazzar. Hananiah was called now Shadrach. Mishael was called Meshach. And Zeron, I think I may have spelled his name wrong, I'll put it here, is now called Abednego. So their foundational names that meant something powerful was now switched into something to honor a different God. Daniel's life was characterized by faith, consistency, lack of compromise, prayer, and courage. What are you teaching your children now that when they go out into the world, when there are temptations, when everybody else is doing something that may not be beneficial to their lives, what are you teaching them now? And fasting has the ability to sustain our children if they learn it from a young age. Daniel was extraordinary, and we want our children to be extraordinary, courageous, and consistent. He was from the land of Judah, the praise that was instilled in him, and we want to make sure that we're instilling foundational things into our children. Number 3, use wisdom when it comes to fasting and what fast your child should do, right? A baby, you can't say that a baby's gonna fast away from something. What I loved about Daniel, you knew that they were trained up in the right way. He knew in verse 12 that he was going to ask for pulse, the lentils, the beans, the legumes. He knew exactly what to ask for because he was trained up in the right way. So like I said earlier, include your child into foods. Explain why it's important to them. Even if it's not the food or whatever they're sustaining or fasting from, even if it's social media or a game for a season, don't just say, hey, we're fasting. Really teach them the purpose behind it. So when they go older, the habits that we have, I'm going to say good, because you can instill those good habits. If you want to be a runner, you may not have been it in the past, but if you desire to be it now, you can instill those habits. So instill habits in our children that's going to help them to be prosperous. If we teach our children, if we prepare them to abstain from things, imagine in the future, you won't have to worry if they're doing drugs or doing those things, just any of those things, any habits that's going to cause them to shorten their lifespan. Then you want to be sure that you're teaching them how to fast from certain things, how to corporately as a family to do something together to the glory of God. I love you guys so much. Just like Isaiah 54 says that your children will be taught by the Lord. I am declaring that over you, that your sons, your daughters, your children's children, they will be taught by the Lord. I declare over you that your generation, you will not be the last person that knew about God, but your children and your children's children and so forth, they will know God. They will have a relationship with God. The relationship that you have with God will not stop with you, but it will go on for generations to come. So may the Lord bless you, keep you, and cause his face to shine upon you, and and may he give you peace, right? Love you guys. Bye.